G'day ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, now with 2,000 subscribers. Now my original intention for today's video was going to be a competition for my subscriber base to celebrate 2,000 subscribers. Unfortunately, Gaijin has chosen to release a content patch right when I've hit that number. Now since I was going to use the replay system for my competition, that causes a major issue. Once the major content patch is released, over the next fortnight, Gaijin will be doing a lot of micro-patching just to fix little issues that have popped up here and there. That means each one of these micro-patches has a chance of destroying all replays that have been recorded previous to that patch. I cannot run the competition for the next 2 weeks. It's too big a chance that it's just not going to work. By the time the patching is settled down, 2 weeks have gone, the moment has sort of already passed, so the next major achievement for the channel will be 5,000 subs. If I ever get there, we'll try and do something then, and I may organise something in between now and then to do something with my community. So, since no competition and no special 2,000 sub video, I thought I'd bring you something that's new, something that I only just unlocked myself. This is my first ever match in the Tiger tank. I finally got access to the thing just last night, just within a few hours of making this video, and this thing is awesome. Now I don't have all the stats for this tank in front of me at the moment, but it is so nice to finally have a machine that can fire something back at the Russians to match their big derp cannons. The armour on this thing is great. It's surprisingly nimble for a heavy tank too. If you keep it slow, it is very heavy and very hard to manoeuvre, providing you've got some forward momentum already going. The tank turns surprisingly quickly. It climbs up hills well. The 88mm gun is just a boss of a gun. The armour, the amount of shots I've managed to bounce in this thing is just huge, and you'll see some of those here. It does have its weak points though, which you'll see one of them in this video. Now this map's 3 base domination. I'm heading down south. I'm going to guard A. Now I have got allies on radar in the area, so I'm assuming I have backup here. What I haven't realised at this point is that most of the enemies I'm facing and most of the allies, or all of the allies that I've got here, are only AI. Second kill already. Now there's a KV-1 down here. It's engaging my AI at B. Always careful to try and keep the tank on an angle. Keep that forward corner parked towards the enemy. Straight through the neck of the turret. Line up for second shot. Now I was trying to find an ammo rack there. Didn't get the ammo rack, but I got the kill anyway. So beginning to hunt for new targets. And just having a peek around this corner just to see if there's anything coming up. Now I'm very careful with peeking the corner, keeping that front corner of the tank always aimed in the direction that I'm looking at, just in case there is something there and it's pre-aimed. Nothing appears to be coming up, so I back off. And you'll see here, when the tank's moving slow, it is really heavy to turn. You've got to get a bit of forward movement up, but I just don't have the area here to do that. Hostile comes in from the other side. And hostiles are gone. Now this tank is dead stock. This is using just stock ammunition, no parts, no track upgrades, nothing. This is the first time I took it out. I didn't even look at the statistics of the tank before I took it into battle. I was so excited about getting it. I didn't test it, I did nothing with it, I just grabbed it, threw it into my lineup and went straight into battle. Now it's at this point that I actually realised the allied tanks that I've assumed have been giving me backup this whole time are actually AI, and they're sitting at their point stationary. We're not capping A, is what gave it away. So I'm beginning to back the tank up. I'm going to have to turn it back and go and cap A myself. The AIs, once they've gotten to the position that they're in, just lock themselves down. They don't move. They'll guard A perfectly fine, but they'll never cap it, they'll never defend it. Now I line up for the left-hand side of the rock and try and get some speed on. I am going to have my side exposed if there's anything out there, and I'm just checking over my shoulder to make sure nothing pops up. Thankfully, nothing appears to be there. I'm still going to put that rock in between me and the direction the enemy tanks could potentially be coming from, however. Not quite enough. I'm going to get most of the tank inside of the line to start capping. There we go. And there are tanks over B. There's a massive fight going on down there that I'm not involved in at the moment. So I begin moving up. I don't want to breach the outside of the cap circle. I want to make sure I'm capping this position. There we go. Now it's secured. I can move forward and begin to snipe down on targets moving on B. First, T-34. Straight through the rear plate into the engine deck. Now swing it around. There's a KV-1 moving into the central island. I didn't get the gun on target fast enough. ISU 122. Second kill. Just back up a little while I'm reloading. And spot an IS-1 coming in. And this is the point that I actually got myself killed. As I said at the start, I was so excited about driving this tank, I didn't look at its statistics or have a good look over its armour before I took it into battle. Now, the armour on the Tiger is great. It really is awesome. The lower plate in particular is very, very hard to penetrate. It's not particularly thick, but it is angled back at about 35 degrees. Unfortunately, find my first shot there and miss, so I move up for a better angle. I'm climbing up a slope. As I'm lining up the shot on this IS, I've actually flattened out the angle on my lower glacis, and yep, one shot. Straight through the lower plate at the front of the tank. Damn well aimed shot by that IS. He picked the weakest point on the tank and hit it very accurately. So, time to bust out a plane. Now this is the HS-129 Battle Duck, armed with its 75mm derp cannon. This is the first time I've ever flown this plane as well. I've had it unlocked for ages, but never bothered putting it into a lineup. I put it in right at the same time as putting the Tiger into my line. I thought that this would be a more appropriate aircraft to take out rather than a Stuka. Unfortunately, I should have spent some time unlocking it beforehand. Now I'm diving down fast. I need to get a good look at what's on the ground on my first pass. First shot misses. Just boom through as fast as I can, trying to keep my speed up. AAA is still stupid on these maps. Fly Daily recently did a video covering some of the major issues with AAA, and I strongly recommend everyone check it out. It is an incredibly well done video. The guidance and tracking speed of AAA in particular is just ridiculous. Now, I can't see any player tanks because nobody on the ground is lighting them up for me, so I'm going to dive in on the AI that are trying to help assist in the defense of B. It's pretty much a wasted effort at the moment. This is going to lose. We're already so low on points, we're not going to be able to turn this one back. This was something interesting that I discovered about this plane, however. Part of the reason I never flew it, never upgraded it beforehand, is I got a lot of reports that the gun in particular was incredibly hard to get on target with ground targets. I'm not finding that the case. Nearly every shot I fire here impacts the target. The stock ammunition is only armor-piercing tracer, so I'm not doing anything more than punching holes in the tank. It's not hitting anything critical and it's not doing any real damage. I need some of the better ammunition belts for the 75mm to be effective. But actually hitting the target was never a problem. I fired 4 shots out of this gun so far, and 3 of them impacted on a tank. The only reason the 4th one missed is I was diving at nearly 700 kilometers an hour, and I was honestly more concerned about driving the plane into a tree than actually hitting the tank. AAA is doing its work though. It's basically pinked the entire aircraft so far and is continuing to do so. I'm trying to keep my airspeed up to avoid it and keep myself low and moving lots, but there's almost no way to avoid it on this map. Straight into the lower side, in between the tracks and to the side of the engine deck. Again, no critical damage to the tank. I need better belts for this plane. And unfortunately that was pretty much the end of the match. We are capped out and that was my first battle. So the results for the match. First place for the team with 5 kills, 3 players and 2 AI. 1 base cap, but I did lose the Tiger. 15,622 silver lions and 2,758 research points. Not a bad match overall, but it was a loss. However, I did learn something invaluable about the Tiger. Never engage in targets while you're on an up angle slope. It flattens your lower glacis and gives you a massive weak point that can be killed. I also learnt that I'm going to have to do a little work on the HS-129 and get some better belts for that 75mm. So let's go on to another battle. So here we are in my second match in the Tiger. Now I've forgotten the name of this map, but I'm sure somebody in the comments will help me out with this one. Now traditionally on this map I would go through the centerpiece and try and snipe both the North Road and the South Road. However, having just learnt that the Tiger has a massive hole in its defences when you're fighting on an uphill slope, which you regularly have to on the centre of the map. I've decided to go south, get on the low ground and fight up. This brings the heavy armour on top of the tank into play and puts the lower glacis, which, as I just said, I found is a very big weak point on the tank, at an even more extreme angle, making it even harder to penetrate. Now at this time I don't think the enemy tanks should have made it this far, so I'm sort of shortcutting over this hill. Unfortunately, I actually got this wrong. Enemy tanks have managed to intercept me before I can get into the low ground, so I'm going to have to try and snipe them out before I move on. There are 3 potential targets down there. First shot in. I try and park my nose in this divot here and go hull down. Cover that lower glacis. I do not want another hit like the IS gave me. Now, just keeping the front corner of my tank angled towards the tanks that I can see, I'm just checking the hills to my left to make sure that nobody's coming down on me. Time to line up and start eliminating these guys so I can move to the low ground. The second shot, first kill. Straight into the ammo rack of a KV-2, straight through its front plate. Now, I'm not ready to advance yet. There is still another tank down there. I need to deal with it. Just bounce another shot. Nose back into the divot. Not quite enough elevation on the gun that time. Realign the gun, wait for reload. I'm in a good defensive position here. I will just bounce every shot that's incoming. Miss again. Tank is moving forward and moving around cover, so I'm just backing off. Wait to see what he does. Looks like he's trying to go and flank around the back. The road ahead of me is clear. Time to get down into that low ground. And there he is. He's flanked around the back of the hill. Pause and line up. Keep myself angled. Bounce another shot. Cripple his tank. Advance forward. Line up again. And kill. Second kill. Now that's the T-34 removed from the fight. I can now progress around the back of this hill and start getting side shots in on any enemy tanks moving on the cap points down the road. And snipes up into the hills as well if necessary. Now I'm still keeping my armour angled as I'm progressing around the corners. I don't know if there is another tank around here or not. I don't think there is, but I just want to make sure. I lift up and I just pause here for a second. We've got a bomber up in the area. He doesn't appear to have noticed me, doesn't be making any attack runs. I have one tank off in the distance that's actually slightly obscured, or was. I move now as he does appear to have an attack angle on me, but there was a second shot that came in there too, and I'm not entirely sure where it came from. Put a hit into his front plate, but it doesn't appear to do any damage. Waiting on reload, and I'm trying to line up the shot, but the gun doesn't load quite fast enough. So I begin checking the hills. Where did that second shot come from? Begin to advance forward to meet the T-34, and there's the target. There's where the second shell came from. So I just back off for a second. And, oh, T-34's close range fast. Fire a shot. Too much elevation, didn't give the gun time to settle. Put the shell straight over the top of him. He's backed off around the corner. Waiting for reload. Fire a speculative shot towards a secondary tank. No impact. T-34 has come back after I fired, but I'm angled perfectly here. Take the hit, it just bounces. Gun has reloaded. I'm now taking strafing attacks from, I believe it's an IL-2 trying to rip me up at the moment. He pops his head back out. I take his tank. Third kill. Yeah, the 88mm on the Tiger is just a monster of a gun. Now with the T-34 dead, I now know this next section of hill is clear, so I can afford to advance. Still trying to keep my front corner angled towards potential enemy fire. Now here I'm taking a little bit of a risk. I'm cresting this hill again, which will present the lower plate for a second, but at the top of the hill is large flat ground and a small lip, which I'm planning on hiding the front plate behind. This should prevent any shots into the lower glacis, and allow me a nice spotting and sniping position to cover the forces that are progressing on the enemy cap at the moment. However, there doesn't appear to be any targets up here at the moment, so advance back down the hill and begin to move up to the next section of low ground to engage targets that are attempting to defend their cap. As you can see, I was quite pleasantly surprised at the Tiger's top speed as well. Knocking out 40 kilometers an hour is a lot faster than I was expecting to get out of it. Now, next target is up, but I do not have a line of sight on it at the moment. That ridge in front of me is protecting it from my shots. Enemy aircraft still are in the area, but with no enemies down here to spot me, actually visually picking it up requires them being within a kilometre of me and looking for me. At the moment, they don't appear to be. Now, our tanks have progressed to A and are beginning to decap it at the moment. And I'm hunting for targets. Now, there is an enemy that's a little bit further ahead. I could go straight in towards A and pull in front of him. This, however, would expose me to oncoming fire, put me into his line of sight. So I'm going to go around the side of this mountain here, on the low ground, on the far southeast side of the map, and get a side shot on him. Progress up the hill. And he doesn't even realise I'm here. 4th kill. Second target has appeared, moving in behind A. Line it up through the trees. First shot goes in, no critical damage, but a solid hit. It backs off. Then begins to move in again. Gun is reloaded. I'm just lining up the shot for the kill. Teammate takes him out. Kill assist. And that was pretty much the end of this match. The enemy team has 4 players still alive, but 3 of them are in aircraft. Their last remaining tank is somewhere along the North Road camping and hiding. He's not advancing or attempting to defend the cap circles. He actually hasn't attempted to defend the circles the entire match. The aircraft that are up, without anybody on the ground to actually spot the player tanks, have to acquire the tanks by eyesight, which is incredibly hard to do. So there's nothing that they can really do to stop us. The caps are... The control point is captured now, so there are no allied tanks within it, so bombing the capture circle is not going to achieve anything. From this point, we just wandered around hoping we would come across the last tank until the end of the match. Now, the results for the match were 4 player kills and 2 assists, but only 5th place for the team, which is really odd. I'm not sure how the point scoring is actually working for ground forces. No awards, but I'm not entirely sure there is any for tanks at the moment. 18,720 Silver Lions and 3,584 research points, which is enough to complete the tracks and get me ready to start researching the spare parts, which is something the Tiger really needs. I've been lucky in both these matches so far in that I haven't actually taken any critical damage while I've been bouncing shots. The potential to have a track blown off is very high, and with no repair parts available for this tank at the moment, it would immobilise it. There would be no way for me to be able to continue the match in the Tiger. Still, as you can see, with correct angling on the Tiger, it's almost impenetrable from the front. The only weak point is really the lower glacis, and providing you're not fighting on an upward slope and you don't flatten out that 30-degree back angle that it has on it, it's even hard to penetrate. And you have to keep that lower glacis on an angle, as right behind it is the tank's transmission, the driver, and one of the Tiger's ammo racks. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Drive smart, drive safe, and I'll catch you on the battlefield.